Vriddhisandhi Additional Rules. So yesterday, in the last lesson, we saw that what is Vriddhi, and in Vriddhisandhi we saw 4 rules. Now we will be continuing with the Vriddhisandhi rules. These are very specific and not mostly found in many granthas. It is very rare and very rarely used. So we'll be dealing with these separately. So here the 5th rule is, if the Purva Varna is A or A, and if the Paravarna is Ekara, that is Eti or Edhate, then the Adesha will be Aikara in the place of Purvarna and Paravarna. If the Purvarna is A or A, and if the Paravarna is U of the word Uha, then the Adesha is Au. This Uha Dhatu here is referring, Uha Shabda here is referring to a modification of Vah Dhatu. So Dhatu, what is Dhatu? We'll just see in the next slide also. Dhatu is nothing but the root verb from which if we join Ting Pratyaya, that is the suffixes Tita, Anti, etc., we'll get the verb forms, Kriya Padani. So these dhatus in Sanskrit, they are 2000 in numbers. So among them, there is one dhatu called as Vah. So here Uha, which is given in the slide, that should be a modification of the dhatu Vah only. In usage, we have Uha, Uha Karaniya. Evam tatra prayogaha drishyante. We see such usages. There, Uha means thinking or contemplating. So that word Uha is different from this word. To differentiate that, we have given here Uha, which is the modification of Vah dhatu. So if the Paravarna is Ukara of Uha Shabda, then the Adesha will be Aukara, which will take place in place of Purvarna and Paravarna. Atra Purva Paravarnayoho sthane Vriddhehe Adeshaha bhavati. So this is and another thing to notice here, we have 2 rows in the table. The second row, that is the U Paravarna, which is there. That rule is an exception for Gunasandhi, and the first row, A, which is there, that is an exception for Pararupa Sandhi, which we will be studying in next half an hour or so. So this we need to keep in mind. This today, whatever we are seeing, actually yesterday also, except that first rule, all the rules are an exception for Gunasandhi or Pararupa Sandhi. So here the U, which is given as Paravarna, that is an exception. That rule is an exception for Gunasandhi, and the first row is an exception for Pararupa. Udaharanam atra dattam Apa Eti. In Apa, Akara is there. Eti, Ekara of Eti is given. So Apa Eti Apaiti iti bhavati. Evam cha Upa Edhate Upaidhate. Evam Ukarasya Pashyamaschet Prashtha Uhaha Prasthauhaha iti bhavati. Evam tatra udaharanani santi. Pararupasya gunasya cha, nama pararupa sandhehe gunasandhehe cha apavadaha ayam. So how does the Sandhi occur? In the left hand side, we have apa. On the right hand side, we have eti. If you split the letters, a, p, a. In eti, if you split the letters, a, t, e. So in the place of akara and ekara, we get the adesha I. And if we join all the letters, then we get the rupa apaiti. Apaiti is the final form. So this was the fifth rule. How do you express that in a sentence? Etabhyam varnabhyam yata ये नाम एति एधते इत्यनयोः आदिमवर्णः यः एकारः यदि सः परः भवति तदा तयोः नाम पूर्वपरयोः वर्णयोः स्थाने ऐ इत्यादेशः यदा च ऊकारः नाम वह् धातोः विकारस्य ऊह शब्दस्य यः आदिमवर्णः वर्तते यदि स ऊकारः परः भवति तदा तयोः पूर्वपरयोः वर्णयोः स्थाने औ इत्येषः आदेशः भवति. When a or a is followed by a, which is the starting letter of eti or edhate, or if it is followed by u, which is the starting letter of uha. The word uha is a modification of the dhatu vah. Then I and au are respectively substituted in the place of both of these letters. That is a or a, which is the purvarna, and the paravarna a or u. Let us see an example from Bhagavatam. पारं महिं न उरुविक्रमतो गृणानो यः पार्थिवानि विममे सरजांसि मर्त्यः किञ्जायमान उत जात उप एति मर्त्यः मर्त्य इत्याह मन्त्रदृगृषिः पुरुषस्य यस्य. So here we see upa eti is present. So how do we join this? On the left hand side we have akara, on the right hand side we have ekara of eti. So in place of these two letters we get the adesha I. So we get upaiti as the form. Remember, this is an exception for pararupa. Once we see the pararupa, you'll get to know the pararupa rules are also similar, but still this rule overrules pararupa and we get vriddhi adesha, that is aikara as adesha. Now next rule, Vriddhisandhi Shashtha niyamah. If the purvavarna is a or a, if the paravarna is r, which is the starting letter of a dhatu, dhatu I already told, it is the root of the verb or root verb. Then the adesha, if the purvavarna is a or a, if the paravarna is r, then the adesha will be r. Here actually Gunasandhi should have occurred, but this rule overrules Gunasandhi and comes, thus we get the R Vriddhi Adesha. Atra Purvaparavarnayoh sthane Vriddheः Adeshः bhavati. Udaharanam kim? Uparicchati uparchati iti bhavati. Purvatra akarah vartate. Paratra rikarah, nama paravarnah rikarah, purvarnah akarah. Punascha richati ityatra rikarah yah vartate, saha dhatoh adu vartate. Rich iti dhatuh. So rich is a dhatu. At the starting of the dhatu we have rikara. In the purvarna we have akara. Thus in place of these two letters, we get R as the Adesha. We get the final form Uparthati. So Gunasandhehe Apavadaha Ayam. Apavada means exception. So this is an exception for Gunasandhi. So how is the Sandhi? Upa Ridhati. If we split the letters, A is on the left hand side, R is on the right hand side. In place of these two letters, we get the Adesha R. And if we join all the letters, we get the form Uparchati. R is the Adesha. This is the sixth rule. A etabhyam varnabhyam yada ऋकारः नाम धातोः आदौ यः ऋकारः वर्तते यदि सः परः भवति तदा तयोः नाम पूर्वपरयोः वर्णयोः स्थाने आर् इत्येषः आदेशः भवति. When a or a is followed by rikara starting of a dhatu, then we get the adesha r, which substitutes both the Purvarna and Paravarna. So next rule is, if the Purvarna is Akara and if the Paravarna is Rikara or Likara, then we get the Adesha R or Al. But this Rikara or Likara should be the starting letter of Subdhatu. So don't worry much about what is a Subdhatu. So again, whatever we are discussing today, it is a little bit advanced. So you can, even if you don't get all the aspects of this, don't worry much. So coming back to the topic, what is Subdhatu is sometimes a noun can be used as a dhatu when different pratyayas are joined. So at that time, a noun is modified as a dhatu, and that dhatu is called as subdhatu. So we'll see the example, you'll get to know. This subdhatu, if it has the starting letter as R or L, and if it is the Paravarna and Purvarna is Akara, then there can be an Adesha R or Al. But here this rule is unique because this is a Vikalpa Adesha. That is, this Adesha which we are doing R or Al in this rule is an optional rule. So if you want, you can do Adesha of R or Al, or else generally what happens, A plus R is Gunasandhi, R, or A plus L is Al. So you can do Gunasandhi also. So this is an optional. Till here, whichever we saw were not optional sandhis. So Akshauhini or Swairam, etc. were all Nitya. That is, they have to happen. If Swa is followed by Ira, we have to make Vriddhisandhi only. We can't do Gunasandhi. But here, there is an option of either Vriddhisandhi or Gunasandhi. So, Udaharanam. Rishabhiyati. Rishabha is a noun, but here it is converted into a dhatu. Rishabhiyati is the verb form. So pra plus rishabhiyati will get either prarashabhiyati. If we consider vriddhi adesha, then we'll get prarashabhiyati. If we don't want to do Vriddhisandhi, then we can do Gunasandhi also. So if we do Gunasandhi, we'll get the form Prashabhiyati. If we do vriddhi, we get prarashabhiyate. If we do gunasandhi, we get prarashabhiyate. Similarly, another example. On the left hand side, if we have upa, that is in the end we have akara, and on the right hand side we have lukara, which is the starting letter of a subdhatu. Lukariyati is a verb, so that has a dhatu, and that subdhatu has the first letter as lu. So in the Puravarna we have akara, Paravarna we have likara, so we get adesha al, upalkariyati. If we don't want to do the Vriddhisandhi, we'll get upalkariyati. Upalkariyati is the case when gunasandhi occurs. So this is the seventh sandhi, gunasandhehe apavadha ayam. So if we do Vriddhisandhi, then it is an exception for gunasandhi. So how does this sandhi occur? Upa likariyati. On the left hand side we have a. On the right hand side we have li, which is the starting letter of subdhatu. In place of these two letters we get al. And if we join other letters, we'll get the rupa. Upalkariyati. Upalkariyati is the final form. How to express this in sentence is given here. A iti etasmat varnat yada r subdhatoho adima varnaha एषः वर्णः परः भवति तदा तयोः नाम पूर्वप्रयोः स्थाने आर् आदेशः भवति यदा पूर्ववर्णः अकारः पुनश्च परवर्णः लिकारः नाम सुब्धातोः आदिमवर्णः यदि सः परः भवति तर्हि तयोः नाम पूर्वपरवर्णयोः स्थाने आल् इति आदेशः भवति. When a is followed by r or l, it should be the starting letters of subdhatu. Then we get the adesha r or al in place of these two letters, that is purva and paravarna. So moving forward, the penultimate rule in Vriddhisandhi. If the puravarna is a, that is the ending letter of the upasarga pra, and if the paravarna is a, which is the starting letter of the words esha or eshya, then we get the adesha aikara. The other rule is if the puravarna is akara, that is the ending letter of pra, and if the paravarna is ukara, which is the starting letter of uha or udha, then we get the adesha aukara. So here uha, which word is given here, this word uha refers to the uha we use generally, that is uha karaniya or uham karotu. In such sentences, when we use uha, we are referring to thinking or contemplating. So that meaning should be taken here. So here uha doesn't refer to the modification of vah dhatu. So uha udha etajoho adima varnaha yaha ukaraha, if that ukara is the paravarna, then we get the adesha aukara. पुनः अत्र पूर्वपरवर्णयोः स्थाने वृद्धेः आदेशः भवति. उदाहरणानि एवं सन्ति. प्र एषः प्रैषः, प्र एष्यः प्रैष्यः, प्र ऊहः प्रौहः, प्र ऊढः प्रौढः इत्येवं रूपाणि भवन्ति. पुनश्च अत्रापि ज्ञेयं यत् this is again an exception for pararupa and gunasandhi. The second row is an exception for Gunasandhi. The first row is an exception for Pararupasandhi. How does this Sandhi occur is given in this slide. Pra, if we split, these are the letters Ra, R, A. If we split Udhaha, U, D, Aha. In place of A and U, we get the Adesha Aukara. And if we join the other letters, we get the final form Praudhaha. So the same is expressed in the sentences here. A pra ityasya yaha adima varnaha etasmat varnat yada ekarah nama esha eshya ityanayoho adima varnaha yaha vartate saha ekarah parah bhavati chet tayoho nama purva parayoho स्थाने ऐ इति आदेशः भवति यदि पूर्ववर्णः अकारः प्र इत्यस्य दोषः वर्तते प्र इत्यस्य अन्त्यः आदिः प्र इत्यस्य अन्त्यः यदा अत्र यथा अकारः पूर्ववर्णः नाम प्र इत्यस्य अन्त्यः भवति परत्र नाम परवर्णः यदि ऊकारः ऊह ऊढ इत्यनयोः आदिमशब्दः यः ऊ वर्तते यदि सः परः भवति तदा अनयोः नाम पूर्वपरयोः वर्णयोः औ इति आदेशः भवति. If the पूर्ववर्ण is akara, which is the starting of pra upasarga, and if it is followed by ekara, which is the starting of esha, sorry, this is not starting, ending. When a is present in the purvarna, which is the ending letter of pra upasarga. So in the previous class or the class before that, we saw what is an upasarga. Upasarga is nothing but the prefix which is joined to a verb. Pratyaya is suffix, upasarga is prefix. So there are 22 upasargas. Among them, pra is one upasarga. So if pra is present in the purva, in the left hand side, that is, if the purvarna is akara, and if it is followed by ekara, which is the starting letter of esha or asia, or if ukara is present, which is the starting letter of uha or utha, then we get the adeshas I or au respectively, which substitutes the purva varna and paravarna simultaneously. So here we have an example from Bhagavata. Pitarya pratirupe sve bhavaya nagaserusha apraudhaivatmanatmanam ajahatyoga sanyuta. So here apraudhaivatmanatmanam is given. So there, if you see the first part, apraudha is there. So how do we split it? Apra can be split as apra u dhaivatmana. If you join those two, we get the adesha aukara. So if we join all the letters, we get the rupa apraudhaivatmana. And in apraudha eva is also there. So as we have already seen in the last class, I have not again shown here. Apraudha eva is also another sandhi present in this word. So apraudha is one sandhi which we saw. The last rule in Vriddhisandhi is if the purvarna is a or akara, if the paravarna is rikara, that is the starting letter of rita, the shabda rita, then we get the adesha r, which is in the place of purvarna and paravarna. But here there is another point which we have to note. that this Sandhi, that is the Puravarna A or A and Paravarna R of the Vrita Shabda, this Sandhi only occurs when there is a Tritiya Tatpurusha Samasa. So let us not get into much details about what is Tritiya Tatpurusha Samasa or what is Samasa itself. Just think Samasa is a compound word. Samasa is nothing but a phenomenon of doing compound words. So there we have one subtype which is called as Tritiya Tatpurusha. So basically the Purva Pada will be in Tritiya Vibhakti, so it is called Tritiya Tatpurusha Samasa. Let us not get more involved in this. So just think there is a Samasa, and if that Samasa occurs, then we can do Vriddhisandhi. So what is the example? Sukha Ritaha Sukhartaha iti bhavati. So the split is also given. Split in the sense the Vigraha Vakya. The meaning of the Samasa is given in this in the parenthesis. Sukhena Ritaha iti Tritiya Tatpurusha Samasaha bhavati. Sukha Ritaha Sukhartaha. Kudha Artaha. Sorry, this is not Artaha. Ritaha. Kudha Ritaha Kshudhartaha Kshudhaya Ritaha iti tatra Chedaha bhavati. So again, this is an exception for Gunasandhi. So in Vriddhisandhi, we have seen 9 types of rules, among which first one was a general rule. Rest all were either an exception for Gunasandhi or an exception for Pararupa Sandhi. So how to remember all these rules? So for that, before that, we have the example here. That is Sukha Ritaha. On the left hand side, we have Sukha, which is the Purapada, or the ending letter is Akara, which is the Puravarna. The Paravarna is Rikara. Between these two, we get the Vriddhisandhi. So if we do the Vriddhi Adesha R, then we get the Rupa. Sukhartaha. Sukhartaha is the final form. So now, the same is expressed in the sentences. A ityetabhyam varnabhyam yada nama rita shabdasya adihi yada paraha bhavati tritiya samase nama tritiya tatpurusha samase yada bhavati evam tada tayoho nama purva paravayoho sthane ar iti adeshah bhavati. When a is followed by r, which is the starting letter of rita, or R is substituted in place of both of these letters. So, to remember all the Sandhis, all the Vriddhi Sandhis, we have just given a consolidated table here with all the 9 rules. So, in the first type, we saw if the Puravarna is Akara or Akara, and if the Paravarna is A, I or O, Au, then the Adesha will be I or Au. This is the general rule of Vriddhisandhi, which is taught in all the schools, all the grammar classes, etc. So, we saw an example also. Chaitat, Shrutva Chaitat Trilokadhyam was the shloka example. So, Chaitat, Cha Etat, iti tatra Vriddhisandhi bhavati. In the second type, we saw Akshauhini, that is, if the Puravarna is Akara, which is the ending letter of Aksha, and if the Paravarna is Uhini, which is the starting letter, if the Paravarna is Ukara, which is the starting letter of Ugini. Then we get the Adesha Aukara, which gives the Rupa Akshauhini. So again, this is an exception to Gunasanthi. In the third type, if the Purva Varna is Akara, which is the ending letter of Pra, Vatsatara, Kambala, Vasana, Dasha or Rina, and if the Paravarna is R, here I have missed R. If the Paravarna is R, which is the starting letter of Rina, we get the Adesha R, not R. So we get the form Prarnam, Vatsararnam, Dasharnam, Rinarnam, etc. So again, this is an exception for Gunasanthi. In the fourth type, we saw if we have Purvarna Akara, which is the ending letter of Swa, and if on the right hand side we have E, this is the starting letter of Ira or Iran, then we get the Adesha I. So we saw a few examples also, Swairam, Swairine, Swairi, etc. Again, this is an exception for Gunasanthi. So these four types we saw in previous lesson, that is in the yesterday's class. So today's class we saw another 5 types. So the fifth type, if the Purvarna is Akara or Akara, and if the Paravarna is Ekara, which is the starting of Eti or Edate, or if it is Uha, the starting of Uha, then we get the Adesha I or Au. We get Adesha I when the Paravarna is A. We get Au when the Paravarna is U. So what is the example? We saw Upaiti, then Apaiti, Upaiti, Upaidhate. Then for Uha we saw Prashtauha, etc. So these are exceptions for Gunasanthi and Pararupasanthi. So the sixth type, in the Purvarna we have A or A. In the Paravarna we have R, which should be the starting letter of Dhatu. Then we get the Adesha R. Remember, these all Adeshas are in place of both Purvarna and Paravarna. I am not repeating it again and again, just because you are already familiar with Vriddhisandhi. But please note, the Adesha is in place of both Purvarna and Paravarna. So we get the Adesha R. So the example given is Uparchati. Uparichati is the split. If we join Uparichati, we get Uparchati. This is again an exception for Gunasanthi. So in the seventh type, if we have A in the Purva, if we have R or L in the Paravarna, in the right hand side, which should be the starting letters of a Supdhatu, then we get the Adesha R or Al. Examples are Upalkariyati. So this is again an exception for Gunasanthi. So in the eighth type, we saw if the Purvarna is Akara, which is the ending letter of Pra, and if the Paravarna is Ekara, which is the starting letter of Esha or Asia, or Ukara, which is the which should be the starting letter of Uha or Udha, then we get the Adesha I or Au. Examples we saw Praisham, Praishaha, Praishyam, Prauhaha, Praudhaha, etc. So in the ninth type, if the Purvarna is A or A, if the Paravarna is R, which should be the starting of Rita, which is the starting of the word Rita, then we get the Adesha R. For example, Sukhartaha, Shudhartaha, etc. So here a unique point to be noted is this only occurs in Tritiya Purusha Samasa. So again, this is an exception for Guna Sandhi. So with this, we finish Vriddhisandhi and all its rules.